Hi guys, Bearded Rogue here, and I apologize for the shaky cam quality of this video. Unfortunately, my tripod was one of the casualties of the move. So far, it's the only casualty of the move, so I'm counting myself lucky, but it is unfortunate, so you're going to have to deal with me holding the camera with one hand and using the other hand to manipulate things. However, I didn't want to wait until I got another tripod to go over Fire in the Library and my revisions to it. So those who've seen the game will see that some of this stuff is very similar to previous versions. I'll go over what's the same and what's different here now. So, first things first is the scoreboard. Unfortunately, I haven't found a way to get away from the scoreboard. I tried using point chits, and we ended up having to have so many point chits that it upped the components of the game ridiculously. It was also very hard to use point chits once I changed the values of what everything was worth. So right now we just have a scoreboard that's 1 to 50, and the little meeples above it are how we mark each player's score. Let's see, what do I want to talk about next? So next are the initiative cards. The initiative cards are the same as they were in the previous version of the game. Each initiative card has, well, most of them have 3 pieces of information. At the top is the player turn order. So if you have the card that says first, you're going to go first. Second, go second, etc., etc. At the bottom are bravery points. Bravery points are a reward that you receive if you manage to get out of the library with books rather than busting, rather than burning, basically. The spaces in the middle, we have 2 types of spaces on each card. We have safe spaces, which are the regular boxes without the X's there, and then we have risky spaces, which are the ones with the X's. The distinction in those being that if you draw a fire in a safe space, your turn isn't immediately over unless you draw a second fire. If you draw a fire, let's just stack this card here with non-fire books. If you draw a fire in a risky space, you immediately bust. And we'll go into how that's changed since the last iteration. But that still works the same way. Safe spaces are empty. Risky spaces have X's in them. Any fire in a risky space immediately ends your turn. Any fire in a safe space is fine as long as it's your first fire. If it's your second fire, turn's over, etc., etc. All right. So let's keep going. Things that are still similar. This is still the library. So in here is where everything will go. So over here are the books and the fire. Anything that is not red is a book. Books are good. Anything that is red is a fire. Fire is bad. So all these will go into the library, and you will draw them out of the library bag. Now, going back to the scoring scenario, one of the biggest changes is now, instead of the bookshelf mechanism with the sliders that I had, this right here is how we keep track of what everything scores. So this right here, the number of points everything is worth are in the corners. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this card right here with the 2 greens and the 1 white would score 1 for each green, 4 for the white, for 6, and then it would score the 2 bravery points as well if they chose to stop for 8. So what happens when you burn? Well, let's go ahead and throw a fire on here. So now this player is busting. So they get to make a decision now. In the previous iteration of the game, the only decision was I grab a bucket and then hope I do better in later rounds. Now, each player has these 4 cards: a bucket, gloves, rare book, and a wheelbarrow. So the bucket works the same way it used to. It lets you put out the fire and end your turn. You can it lets you put out the fire that would end your turn, and then you can continue this round. So this fire would end your turn normally because it's in a risky spot. You could just say, nope, I can ignore that, and I could choose to draw another book, or I could go ahead and just score my points and not press my luck. So that's how the bucket works. The gloves, Next round, all spaces are safe spaces. So no matter which initiative card I choose, there are no risky spaces on it. The rare book lets me score 3 points immediately. So I won't get to score for my books, but I'll score 3 points for the rare book, plus bravery points, if I would get any. So in this case, I would score 5 points, which isn't as good as the 8 points that I was going to have, but it's points, and points are how you win the game. And then last is the wheelbarrow, which will let you have 2 extra risky spaces. So instead of only drawing 5 books, you can draw 7 books. However, the 2 extra spaces are on this side of the card and are risky. So if you pull fire, your turn still ends. So you'll choose which one of those which one of those booby prizes you want to get if you burn. And you'll either use it immediately if it's the book or the bucket, or you'll have it for next turn if it's the gloves or the wheelbarrow. The trick is that each player can only choose, only one of these can be chosen around. So if I burn and I'm first player and I pick the bucket and continue my turn, nobody else in this round can play the bucket. They have to choose one of the other types of tool. If the buckets and the glove have been chosen and I'm the 5th player, I have to pick the wheelbarrow or the rare book. Once you've used one of these, it's gone for you for basically the rest of the game. Should you be unfortunate enough to burn 5 times, which means you're probably really losing, all of them will reset and you'll have access to all of them again. But what else happens when you burn? That's what happens with the players. But over here on the scoreboard, what'll happen now is we have these 2 greens and this white. So up here, we will lose 1 green, 2 greens, and 1 white. So as you can see, just like in the previous version of the game, the points for each will go up. So the white cubes are now worth 5 going forward, and the green cubes are now worth 3. In addition, we've added these fire spaces. So anytime one of these fire spaces was revealed, and we revealed 2 on the green side, 1 on the 2 and 1 on the 3 that's visible, we will remove that color from the bag. So these will not go back in the bag. The white and the yellow, or the white and the red, the fire will always go back in the bag, and in this case the white will too, because even though we flipped over a piece of the library, there's no flames, so white will go back in the bag. So as you go through, not only will it change the point value of the books, but it also changes the probability of drawing those books in the future. The final thing, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you this, yeah, maybe if I bring this up here, is everyone has this tiny number on it. Every single piece of the library has a tiny number on it. At the end of the turn, at the end of the round, I should say, after every player has taken a turn, whatever the lowest number is, so in this case this 2 yellow, will burn automatically. And so we will remove a yellow cube from the bag as well, permanently. And now the game end triggers as soon as one of these stacks of cards is gone, whether the players burn it down or the game itself burns it down over time. The library is burning, it is going to collapse, it's going to become unsafe to go in, and as such you want to try and, race in and grab as much knowledge and rescue as many books as you can before it completes burning down. The game ends immediately once one of the 4 wings of the library burns down. There's no point end game trigger anymore. There's no any other convoluted way. It's as soon as one of those, as soon as you can see table where one of those stacks that make up the library scoreboard are gone. As soon as you can see table where one of them was, that's game over immediately. Doesn't matter whose turn it is, whether it's the end of the round, etc., etc. So it could end on the end of the round if the automatic burn is what kills it, or it could burn through player actions, accidentally spreading the fire when they run in. Everything that's burned obviously stays out of the game, resets for the next game. And yeah, that's basically it. That's what's changed. So the this now replaces the tracks with the books, and This is still the scoreboard, and these are still the initiative cards, and these replace just the basic buckets, although the bucket is one of the tools. Now there are additional tools, and then the library, books, and fire. And that pretty much sums all that up. Again, I apologize for the shaky cam quality of the video, and it looks like it might also be a little dark. I don't have lights yet. I have some indirect lighting set up, which isn't really great, but I hope that this was enough for you to get the gist of how it works and what's changed since the previous versions. Anyway, that's it for today, so Bearded Rogue signing out.